All right, welcome back, everyone. We continue right here with the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. 412-575-2600 is the number to call. Got a lot of action here on the phone line, so we'll get right to it, and we'll begin with Ken in Clearfield. Hello, Ken. How you doing tonight?
Hey, Bob. How you doing?
Good,
hey,
thanks.
Great show.
Thank you.
Great show. The Penguins, what a game today. They needed to go on the road against a very good St. Louis team and win like by 2 or 3 goals, and they did that. And I'd like to also make an appointment about Elias Diaz's mother getting kidnapped down in Venezuela.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Venezuela 20 years ago on my honeymoon, and everything was nice because we were at a resort. But flying in and flying back, it was really scary. And that was 20 years ago. I can just imagine what it is now.
Well, this Maduro government regime is really, it's a bad situation on so many levels. Like I said, it's interesting because Venezuela is a country that is rich in oil resources, and yet it's one of the poorest countries out there right now, the way things are being conducted. And you don't have anyone to pay the police. There's no security. Some of those police were involved in this kidnapping, apparently, as members of the kidnappers. So more details coming up. That will be at 11 o'clock on KDKA. I believe Ralph Ionati is covering that story. Let's go out to Tony in the Hill District. Hey, Tony, how you doing?
Hey, Bob, how are you?
Good, thanks.
I wanted to say, don't you think if the Pirates owner don't do what he have to do as far as getting better players with the salary cap that he has, do you think that he should sell the team? Because, you got to bring fans and stuff in. And I want to also ask you, do you think he care about the fans enough to do that?
First of all, there's no salary cap, so whatever he's doing is in his head only. He can do whatever he wants to do. He doesn't have to spend, and that's the problem because, thanks for the call, when you don't have a salary cap, that means you do not have a salary floor. And when there's no floor, that means you can spend whatever you want to spend, and no one's going to say much to you. And that's what's wrong with this system, clearly. You can't have a system of haves and have-nots. They've always been that way, and the league itself doesn't seem to care about it, and that's a shame. You can use whatever excuse you want. He's never going to sell that. He's making too much money, and it comes down to his responsibility as an owner to try to win. I think that's part of it as well in a publicly funded stadium. Why not try more and spend more? And not only that, develop more. They have to not only draft the right people, but develop them. They have not done a very good job of that, and that's why their minor league system right now is not producing a whole bunch of people. And certainly the ones they do have, they protect and never use in trade bait sometimes. I'd rather use them to get something when I feel like I have a good team like they did 2 years ago, but they didn't go that route. So here they are. And, the scary thing about this is the fact that if you're a Pirate fan, you're looking at maybe at the best case scenario, 4th place finish, only because the teams that have finished well ahead of them last year got better in the offseason. We just saw that Yu Darvish signed with the Cubs yesterday. His salary this year alone is going to be double what the entire Pirate starting staff may be. It's a $150 million deal. Then you see Marcell Ozuna traded by Miami, goes to St. Louis, of all things, and he's a really good player, one of the best young outfielders in the game. And then, of course, you see what, the other teams. Milwaukee is supposed to be a team that was rebuilding last year. Well, they did, and now they added to it. They went out and spent a lot of money and made some marquee trades, and they also were involved in Yu Darvish as well. Let's go to Bob in Indiana. Hey, Bob, how you doing?
Pretty good, Bob. Thanks for taking my call.
Anytime. What's up? What's on your mind?
I'm a really frustrated caller here. After football season, everyone's looking toward spring training and, the season coming up. And right now there are so many question marks. You got Bell at first, Mercer at short. I don't know about any other positions. Marte is apparently in center field, maybe Frazier left. Everybody else is pretty much a bust. They haven't done nothing to do anything for second and third, depending on what they do, in that area. Gong's not coming back. Mm-hmm. In and out, Polanco, he's just, again, another question mark. And it's just so frustrating as a fan to see this, that nothing's happening, and I don't really think anything is going to. And I think this whole year is just going to be a bust. And it's really, it's really
yeah,
bad.
It is frustrating. You're right, because, Harrison was talking about potentially not wanting to be here after everything that happened with Garrett Cole and Andrew McCutchen. You'll probably have this Cullen Moran guy at third base, see how he can do. Mercer, and then Bell, and then Cervelli, and then an outfield, which at this point has Adam Frazier as starting left fielder. I think Adam Frazier is a good player when he's utilized as a reserve and somebody who can do a lot of different things. You know, play a lot, but not necessarily in one position. But and then the pitching. You know, how are you going to replace Cole? How are you going to replace the 28 home runs lost by McCutcheon? Lots of questions. Let's go to Paul on the north side. What's up, Paul? How are you?
Okay, Bob, how you?
All right, what's up?
I'm going to talk a little basketball with Duquesne first.
Okay.
I think the Dukes are, I mean, it's a surprise this year. I mean, it's really a good surprise, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, but they've kind of tailed off, and that loss the other day was not a good one at home.
No, I know, but I think they're running out of steam a little bit.
Yeah, they could be.
It's a long season. They got a couple kids on that team, you know.
Some of their better players are not even dressed right now. They're going to be available next year. You wait.
Yeah.
I think Keith Dambrot was a really good hire. I do, and I think
it sounds like it.
You saw some of the things that they were doing earlier, and maybe you're right. Maybe they're just not because they're relying on the same young guys, freshmen, to do the dirty work on a lot of these games.
Just out of high school, you know, they don't play that many games in high school.
Yeah.
And then as far as Pitt, they have to hang on to Stallings. I think he has the same situation, doesn't he, with transfers coming in? And
yeah, it's hard to assess a guy after last year was kind of a throwaway year. Now this is really his first full year. So how do you make a decision other than the fact, like I said, when it comes down to money, when it comes down to empty stadiums and arenas, now all of a sudden but they're going to have to spend a lot of money if they want to buy him out and then bring in another coach, and who knows what that'll do.
They have a young team too, Bob, right? They have a lot of freshmen.
They're all freshmen. They're fifth youngest team in Division I.
Right. Yeah. So they're going to give him a shot. You know, the kids will look good. I've been watching them, and the announcers kind of give them a lot of good creds too.
All right, man. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. 412-575-2600. Let's go out to Selena in Pleasant Hills. It better not be my Selena. She should be sleeping, but go ahead.
No, it's not your Selena.
How are you, Selena?
Okay, how are you?
Do you spell your name the same way like my daughter? Is it Celina, right?
Yeah.
Oh, good for you.
Okay. I just wanted to talk to you about Phil Kessel. I believe his contract's up the end of this year.
No,
and do you think
he's
they'll
not.
sign him, or do you think they'll let him go or trade him?
His contract is not up. He still has a couple years after this year.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, so he costs an awful lot. I think, if they should win another cup, and who knows down the road, because he can still, at this point, get a lot in return, you would think, the way he's playing. But you'd hate to give up on him and trade him. But at some point, they may have to do that. But the time is not now. But he is signed, yes, absolutely. Thanks, Elaine. Appreciate that. Zach, Dale, John, you're coming up next. Don't go away. You're watching Sunday night edition of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call right here on Pittsburgh CW.